Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the Matthew Ball we're waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday night per usual. Welcome back. Hope everybody's doing okay. I know we're still in some trying times. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are having a really rough go at it. Maybe some folks know, some friends or close family members that have passed from the virus. Like I said, I want to keep telling you that my thoughts are going out to you. I'm fortunate enough to be in a good situation, relatively speaking, of course. I hope everybody's doing as good as possible anyway. And like I've always said, I'm here to distract you during this trying times. And hopefully with this time off, if, financially you're okay, because you're getting enough unemployment and whatever, all that stuff. Hopefully there's been some things in your life, whether it's family time or just some things that you're straightening out or tweaking or improving in your life as well. And kind of looking back at maybe certain things that you did where you could have done different or something like that. But like I said, a lot of people have been putting in more hours, so I'd like to thank all the essential workers, whether you're at a hospital or whether you're at a drive-through or whatever. Everybody's still having to work amongst people, making you essential worker, and just people working in general. So, anyway, got a variety of things to talk about on the show tonight. This Bob Arum, Terrence Crawford, Pacquiao fight that now he says is actually potentially back on as far as negotiations, some tentative negotiations. I'm going to take you step by step through this Pacquiao Crawford stuff. Shows you Bob Arum has been just completely lying. The old Bob Arum line today. Why should we believe you? Remember he said, today I'm telling the truth. Yesterday I was lying. And I understand you're a promoter. You're going to talk your guy out more than others, of course. And once you stop promoting someone, you're not necessarily going to promote their fights for them, obviously. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff is just in general. I know I'll get some pushback on saying, well, he's just a promoter, man. Promoters do this. Yeah, but the level of disrespect towards Manny Pacquiao, who some boxing historians have him in the top 10, top 20 all time. Most people have him in the top 50 of all time. But, to disrespect fighters as a promoter, you're right. That is part of it. No doubt about it. But the disrespect, I think it's wrong to do the disrespectful stuff. Unless someone's been disrespectful to you, that's different. But to disrespect a legend makes it even worse. And now Bob Arum has really just gone full circle, like I mentioned. This is something I did a long time ago minorly, but now he's gone full circle and talking about he wants to fight. When Manny was with him, he wanted to fight. Then, over time, now that he doesn't have Manny Pacquiao anymore, then all of a sudden his views change, which I can understand to an extent. are a promoter. Like I said, you're not going to go out of your way and bend over backwards promoting Pacquiao because you're not with them. But the points, I have audio, I have a rant. I'm just sick of it, dude. Talking about a flip-flopper. Like I said, I mean, and the media just stands by. The media just stands by and allows it. Maybe they'll bring up something, but they won't bring it up all the way. It's been pretty disgusting, to be honest with you. For a living legend, a first ballot Hall of Famer, most people, like I said, historians have him in the top 20, top 30 of all time. I don't think anyone can really argue with top 50 all time, and this is what you're just going to allow Bob Arum to do, is just disrespect Manny Pacquiao? But yeah, now he's back to saying, actually, this is going to be a good fight. And I mean, the way he, out of envy, jealousy, whatever it is, I mean, it's so clear and crisp. But we'll talk about that. I do have a segment about that. Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, Ryan Garcia are looking to make a big splash July 4th. I'm all on board with that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about Gary Russell Jr. and his delusional thought process and comments about Lomachenko in the loss he took to Lomachenko. Completely delusional. Where are those folks, a couple of months ago when Gary was saying a bunch of stuff that some of it was delusional, what he was saying. Some of it, you could just see he's getting hungry for a big fight. He's probably sick of, well, maybe he's not sick of fighting once a year, but he's probably like nearing the end of his career in his head, because he's also laid that out. And, his career in the past, he has laid it out to his plans. Now you can see he wants a big fight, and I'm glad he wants it, but what he was saying about Lomachenko is just delusional. Spence is delusional, and Porter are delusional as well in recent comments they made. But yeah, I'm going to talk a variety of some good news about Tyson Fury, potentially anyway, and just a variety of little minor updates pertaining to the sport coming back. We do have a lot of good news on that point. So, actually, somebody, I forgot to answer this text, but somebody sent me what looks to be a top 20 best heavyweight list of all time. So there's a segment there too. Someone just sent that not long ago. I'll do that as well. That seems like a fun little segment. And the list is it Ring TV, I believe. Yeah, so we'll actually we'll have that little segment as well. So anyway, but before we get into this, if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, it streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live at Archives. It's basically the headquarters. However, you don't just have to get it off Blog Talk downloading it. You don't have to just listen to it there. You can find the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast across the board, whether it's Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Really, like I said, across the board. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be found all over the place, including Spotify, I should mention. You can use your Siri or Alexa through Spotify or TuneIn to find the platform. Oops, what the heck is that? Something. Anyway, by the way, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. You can head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. That's thegruelingtruth.com. They got a great sponsor over there, betnow.eu, with the promo code TGT. That's betnow.eu, promo code TGT. Thegruelingtruth.com is boxing. It's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's everything in between. And real quick, before we dive into this, if you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you had and you're not quite happy, I got something for you. I use it myself. It's called AT&T TV Now. It's live streaming cable. They have a 7-day free trial. You can try it out. There's no annual contracts to tie you down. The plans start as low as $55 a month. You can stream it anywhere. They do have the cloud DVR, and then boxing fans wise, Showtime's only $11 under that platform. Obviously, with the Zone and ESPN Plus, you don't need, basic cable to have those. Whereas with FS1 and ESPN, you do. So that's why I bring up Showtime, boxing-wise as well. AT&T TV now, that's live streaming cable. Now, if you're just in a region of the country that it's just really bad, you're in the rural areas, the internet's just really bad. When I say really bad, before that, I should have preferenced that. If you don't have good internet, right? It's one thing to archive something on Netflix or on Amazon, right? And it's just sitting there, you archive it, okay. But if you're live streaming cable, that's going to be a little bit different. There is AT&T TV. That's available here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, parts of New York, parts of Florida, parts of Texas, parts of California, all the way up to the Northwest, like cities like Seattle, other places like St. Louis, and many others across the country. Basically, just Google it, AT&T TV, put your area code in there, see if you got it, like available in your area. Otherwise, AT&T TV now, like I said, live stream cable. Okay. Let's get into this, shall we? And actually, I will have some boxing Twitter stuff as well. We did have some fun little stuff on boxing Twitter today, actually. Somebody that is, let's be honest, the person that tweeted about Steve Kim today is clearly biased towards the PBC. I don't think that's really up for debate. He does sometimes come across as a PBC stan, but other times he's making a point. I don't see eye to eye with a variety of things he may tweet or think or one-sidedly think, but he does make a lot of good points, and he showed a bunch of tweets. I'm not going to go over the tweets today. It is funny, though. You do see a fair amount of folks really coming to him or coming to his, his protection program is what I called it. He's really coming to their defense, and some people are making legitimate points, no doubt about it, and I agree with them, or maybe I'm meeting them halfway. Some people are just protecting them on some I'm trying to get retweeted for my show stuff. So, like I said, though, I don't mean anybody with the show on that either. There's people that have a show that are saying legitimate things. So I'll clear some of that up. And I don't want that, because I remember reading it, I don't want that to come across as to cheap seats boxing. Shout out to them. If you haven't heard that podcast, you should. Most people have, though. It's a popular podcast. I'm not talking about them. I know that was in the comments around there. I was talking about a variety of stuff, people, in fact. But some people are, it's just funny. It's just funny. It's really funny. But like I said, I'm going to have a boxing Twitter segment as well. But there are some basic things that I'll kind of get into before we talk about just how disrespectful this whole process has been with Pacquiao and Crawford pertaining to Bob Arum. And like I said, the media, most of the media, part-time and full-time, just let them get by with it. There was an interview that I'll play the audio. I do have some audio. It's not just me ranting, but where at least the host of the interview, does say something towards that. Or like Eidik, I remember reading an article about how he talked about the Crawford fight, and he at least brought some context to it, but no one's really said, and it's not calling out Bob Arum. It's not like somebody's got to talk shit to him or nothing like that. It's actually just doing your job, but that all goes to, boxing media in general as well. Here's a couple of items I'll get to, though. Tyson Fury is actually talking about, I want to fight till I'm 40, okay? Now, I'm not saying anything to, and by the way, I just got a couple of text messages. The person I was talking about was Vince Cummings, here, I'll just say it. I wanted to make sure people weren't skewing or not just people, but, anybody in particular thought that I was talking about a different show. That's why I brought up a different show. But I was originally talking about Vince Cummings, just so you know. And he has a different show, so obviously I'm talking about that one. But Tyson Fury is no longer talking about, now when he says I'm going to fight till I'm 40, I'm not going to sit here and think that either. You know what I mean? However, this is from a BoxingScene.com. Fury, who had previously stated that he planned to retire 2 to 4 more fights, basically what he has on his contract. Now, this is what he told ESPN. I'm going to fight on until I'm 40 years old. I've been thinking about it, and there isn't much else to do anyway. So, yeah, I may as well keep fighting. I don't see anyone out there that can challenge me anyway. I just flattened the best one out there, the toughest opponent in Deontay Wilder, and we saw what happened to him the last time out. So I'm not going to sit there, like I said, and be like, oh, dude, he's going to fight till he's 40 for sure. No. I've been following the sport long enough to know that you can't take exactly what these guys are talking about. Just like, for like the 100% truth. Just like he was saying how he only had 2 or 3 fights left in him, and then he's going to be done. I didn't necessarily believe that. It worried me minorly because it's like, dude, you're still in great shape. Not only that, but your whole depression and the whole anxiety thing, well, what better way? Like, it's one thing to work out, but why not stay focused in training camps? And basically, some of my point was exactly what he made. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, dude, this is great news. He's going to fight till he's 40. I have no clue. But, the guy is the personality. He's a hell of a fighter, and we need guys like this in boxing. He's popular, the most popular he's been so far. And he's big in the UK. Now he's getting bigger here, too. So I want him to hang out for a long time. That's actually, the U.S.-UK rivalry. That's cool and everything. And sure, I wanted Wilder to win on the U.S.-UK rivalry thing. Shouts out to the UK fans. But some of it had to do with the rivalry, right? And Wilder, his name has been growing very much so here, but some of it was knowing that Wilder's probably going to be around longer too. Knowing that Wilder's already got the fan base here, and if he would have scored a knockout, it would have been that much bigger. But obviously he didn't. But now it's great news to hear that he's at least thinking about hanging around even for a couple more years. You're at your peak of your power, both, internationally and locally here in the U.S., You're at your peak of the powers as far as skills. Stay around, Tyson. Keep fighting. So I'm glad to hear that. And obviously, when I say Tyson, I mean Tyson Fury, not Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was in the news earlier saying he's training. I want to come back. And people thought, oh, like a comeback? Hell yeah. But then he really meant an exhibition, which, it is what it is. I don't really have too much to say. Not that much anyway. Couple other news items, or not news, but just topical items. Golovkin's trainer actually went out of his way to say that he does not want to fight Canelo in September. And I don't blame him. He'd be almost what he fought in October. It'd be almost a year or whatever. I'll talk a little bit about Lomachenko and Lopez as well. Lopez out here screaming at Lomachenko about wanting to get a tune-up. Sounds like he's going to get a tune-up in general, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But, yeah, Golovkin's trainer kind of came out and said, we're not going to do the Canelo fight in September. And who knows if they could actually do that fight in Vegas in September as far as with fans anyway. But his trainer was talking about, Golovkin's trainer was, he basically was like, hey, man, they wanted us, they wanted us to go right to that fight. Well, before we wanted to go right to that fight, and they wanted a fight in between, that being the May fight, what it turned out to be Billy Joe Saunders, right? So he's like, nah, we're going to play the game right with them now then. Like, if you're going to play that game with me, then I'll play that game with you. Which I can't blame him, whatever. And, you will be out for a year off a bad performance. Maybe he just wants to get a tune-up before, but it's really not a whole lot of news. That's why I'm kind of breezing by it, you know what I mean? I don't really blame Golovkin for that, especially when it sounded like they actually wanted to do the May fight, and Canelo and them did. I don't know. It really doesn't matter at this point because I don't see that fight happening in September anyway. What else we got? Just breeze by. Oh, Porter. So Sean Porter and Spence, actually. I'll talk about both of them. Sean Porter talked about, there's a quote saying he boxed, basically, don't quote me exactly, but basically verbatim he was saying, like, he boxed circles around Spence, which, like, he outboxed Spence? Like, I liked his footwork. I actually did think that the in-out game was very interesting. It was very effective, and I'd like to see more of it. I actually think that was one of Porter's best performance, if not his best performance. I know some people will say, well, what about the Malignaggi fight where he looked like Tyson or what he did against Devin Alexander? But this came against Spence. So I like that in and out. It is kind of funny, though. You can tell that it's getting more popular because I see a fair amount, in my mind, a little too much, but a fair amount of people saying, like, point blank, Porter won the fight straight up. There's no really debate. Like he won 8 or 9 rounds. That was a very competitive fight. Now, if you think Porter won, cool. I don't see how you can see 8 rounds at all. And I think that debate could be made both ways. I'm okay with 7-5 or a draw either way. Like, if you thought it was 7-5 for Porter, cool. If you thought it was 7-5, you know how that goes. 6-6, obviously that's going to be rewarded to Spence because he scored the knockdown. But I don't know. A lot of it is just guys that love Crawford, to be honest with you, because some of these same dudes, not all of them, but some of these same people were dumping on, Porter in general, and some were even downplaying this fight going into it. But I thought it was his best performance, Sean Porter, but I don't think he won. I had it 7-5, but like I said, if you thought it was close, cool. Not thought it was close. It was close. But the whole, neither guy won by 9 rounds. I don't care what side you're on. 8 rounds? You really saw 8 rounds for Porter? All right, man. But either way, there's no way you can come out of that fight and be like, man, he boxed circles around him. And speaking of, being a little delusional, we'll get to Garrett Russell in a little bit, but Errol Spence, I believe, is delusional as well. He had a good interview on All the Smoke podcast. It's like a Showtime-sponsored podcast. It's a good podcast. They have the Kevin Garnett. Obviously, they had Kobe not long ago, RIP, but they had this Kevin Garnett interview. And obviously, I'm from Minnesota, so I'm going to like that interview even more, but it is hilarious. The way his impressions of Shaq and Gary Payton and his story about Michael Jordan and Isaiah Ryder his rookie year and so many. Oh, my God, it's a funny one. But anyway, it was a really good interview with Spence, I thought. Spence once again came clean even more and about, his mistakes and whatnot. But he said prime for prime, I could beat Floyd Mayweather. I gotta see you. The reason why I say delusional is because I gotta see Errol Spence against Terrence Crawford before I can even ponder Mayweather in Spence prime for prime in Spence beating them. Now I understand fighters are gonna be fighters. They're gonna think that they can beat people. That's cool. But like I said, I need you in the ring with Terrence Crawford, a guy that's multi-versatile fighter that can box on the outside, on the inside. That's a pretty damn good defender, not up in the ranks of, obviously, Mayweather, but he's a damn good fighter, is Crawford. So, yeah, I'm gonna need to see you against Spence before I can even debate that, prime for prime with Mayweather, okay? And, by the way, you better, actually follow up on the stuff you've been saying about your weight. Otherwise, we're never going to see you in the prime if you keep putting on 40 or 50 pounds. So hopefully he's straightened it out after that. We'll see, though. You never know. What else we got? Oh, that was weird. So somebody said they just got knocked off. The number to dial is 646-381-4990. That's 646-381-4990. You know, I refreshed it. I didn't see anybody else knocked off. I did see you go off, but maybe you accidentally hit it, or I'm not sure. Maybe you – I mean, every once in a while – I've been on Blog Talk for a long time. Every once in a while on some given night when you press 1, it'll knock you off, but I'm not sure – you know, did you try to press 1? Maybe that was it. I don't know, but you have my text. I'm not sure who this is, but you have my text messages, so. Or you have my text, I should say, not my text messages. So if you want to just, you know, call back or tell me you tried to press 1 or whatever, that's cool. Lomachenko. So Lomachenko is in Ukraine right now. In the Ukraine, so he's not even here right now. And I bring that up because, you know, Teofimo Lopez has been going around saying, you know, this, that, and the third about Loma. And I've talked about it a little bit, whether he's trying to price himself out or because he was, according to Lopez, he was asking for $7 or $8 million for this fight, which is a lot of money, considering he's never been on pay-per-view yet. And he hasn't even done a gate. I don't believe he's done a gate over $1 million yet. That is a lot of money. But maybe he thought, maybe I'll get a fight in, get paid $2 or something, $3 million, and then I'll get paid $5 for this fight. And maybe that's why he wanted to tune up. He also hasn't fought since August, but this is what, and I'm talking about Lomachenko there. This is from Jake Donovan. Lopez de Loma, tune-up fight? ? F that. My tune-up fight's going to be with you. And, you know, he's saying that, but I actually heard an interview not long ago, Bob Arum saying, well, you know, we're not going to be able to get Lomachenko in the country more than likely. So you're going to Lopez is probably going to have to take a tune-up. Who knows? Teofimo, this is by Jake. Teofimo Lopez continues to double down on his insistence that he wants, you know, Lomachenko next. And there's a problem with that fight because they need some of that gate money, you know. This is what he said. I spoke to Bob, my father and I. We spoke with a couple of days ago. Pretty much he wants to fight again without the fans, really hoping I'd say yes to it. This is what he told Steve Kim and Mario Lopez on their edition of their podcast. I explained to him why I wouldn't because of my health conditions. But I did tell him if everything goes smooth with fighters fighting without fans and everything going smooth with nobody catching the coronavirus, then we can talk about maybe us fighting. He does not want Lomachenko fight to happen with myself. He does not want it to happen without fans. He does want the fans to be there in attendance, which, you know, you can't really blame Bob Arum for that. He's the one paying for it. That fight with Loma isn't going to happen until all this is over, until the coronavirus dies out and we can bring back the fans and everything like that. That's going to be number one fights he definitely wants on the radar. He wants to start out with it, but I'm ready. And I have to be ready, he said. It goes on to talk about other stuff as far as, you know, the complications with coronavirus and the testing that would be needed and all that. And this is also what he said. I'm going to tell you some shit that I know that he's being a bitch about. Loma wants to have a tune-up fight. So now Top Rank wants me to have a tune-up fight as well because this guy wants a tune-up fight. It's like F that. You know what I mean? F that. I'm not trying to have a tune-up. My tune-up is going to be with him. So that's what he's saying. You know, this fight was going to be announced, May 30th? Was that the working date? That's what Bob Arum says. That's what the rumors were out there. I don't know, man. If they fight in, let's say, September, October, that will be over a year that Lomachenko would be out. Would he fight in August, I think? So allowing to get a tune-up isn't really that crazy of an idea. And we don't know exactly when Lomachenko, like I mentioned, because he's in the Ukraine right now, we don't know when the international flights are going to not be banned anymore. And, maybe they can work out a certain situation. I don't know. But I don't think it's the craziest thing for Loma to have a stay busy fight, especially if you got to come back and you got to train, so you'll need 2 months to train before the fight, 8 to 10 weeks. So I don't know. I think it's just, when is the last time Teofimo fought? In December, right? I think it was mid-December. It'll be less than a year if they fought September, October. But I understand Lopez, he was that close to getting in the ring with Lomachenko. I'm not saying the contracts were both signed, because apparently they weren't, according to Lopez. I've heard Bob say the opposite, so who knows. But I can't really fault Lomachenko for wanting a tune-up if that's the case. And like I said, maybe it's because he thinks, well, shit, I'll be out for more than a year. Or he's thinking, well, if you're not going to give me $7 or $8 million, then give me a fight for 2, and then, like I mentioned, give me 2 fights, and that'll make 7 or 8. I have no clue, but I certainly would not jump on Lomachenko for wanting a fight before a fight, because you'll be out for a year, and that's a big challenge, especially at 135, which we know is not Lomachenko's best weight. So I really don't have a big problem with it. I'm sure this will be like ammunition to rip Loma some way. It is what it is. I don't really look into it that deep, to be honest with you. I really don't. So I think it's pretty ridiculous. All right. So we got a couple more items that I want to get into with a little bit more depth. I will talk about the Bob Arum, Pacquiao Crawford stuff. I think he's been so disrespectful. And last year when he started changing his tune about Manny, I did start to document some of this stuff. But now it's just out there to the point where he's come full circle where I got a rant on it. It's not even a rant. It's not even being critical. It's just disrespectful how Bob Arum has treated Pacquiao with the Crawford stuff, But we'll get to that in a second. I'll get to the delusional Gary Russell on Lomachenko as well. But I do want to talk about Golden Boy and, DAZN obviously too, but Ryan Garcia as well, and their plans to try to, stage an event. I believe it's going to be at is it Fantasy Springs in Indio? I think it is. On July 4th, though. July 4th. They talked about Ryan Garcia. They talked about a stack card. So Oscar, who actually did a interview with, I think, Kevin Aioli earlier this week. It's only Tuesday. Yes, it's only Tuesday. But I can't remember when it was last week. If it was late last week, I believe it was. But he talked about how him and Canelo are friends, but it's just a business relationship. The last I've heard, I haven't heard any change about that they're actually speaking with each other through lawyers, and they're not talking, but who knows? Maybe they have come around, maybe not. I don't know. But that would be great. July 4th. I think it's doable based off what Bob and Arum and other folks have said surrounding whether it's athletic commissions, whether it's, states starting to open up. We'll see how that goes with the open up. Some states don't have many cases where even if it's going up in cases, it's still not really that much, relatively speaking. And so I believe those states will be better or okay. We don't really know. So, some other countries that have opened up that thought they were good to go now have like a mini run of it again. And so they closed it back up a little bit. So I don't really know how this is going to, go. What we do know is something we've talked about in the last month, where there's going to be a lot more tests available. There'll be a lot more people tested in the country by July, even by June. And they're just going to be options. This weekend, May 9th, is that pay-per-view or is that just normal ESPN? I can't remember. But UFC is going to be back in the house. So, which I am going to watch that. I am. Well, I'm not going to pay for it, though. If I think it's just on normal ESPN. Maybe I'm wrong. I heard it's a pretty stacked card. I'm going to give you my review of it. Unless it's pay-per-view, then I don't think I'm going to do pay-per-view, actually, on that one. But who knows? Who knows? But that would be great. Now, obviously, DAZN, it's going to be interesting to see them come back. Not that they won't come back. They got plenty of money. I'm not talking about that. But the amount of subs they've lost in this time frame has got to be pretty rough for them, to be honest with you. And they had built back, but they had never gotten over 1 million here, DAZN USA. So, you just wonder. How long it's going to take them to get back. Obviously, they'll need a big Canelo fight, and they'll need to get going. The hardcores are going to come back. Since late April last year, they've been serving the hardcores very well. They've been serving up a platter of food. I'm still kind of full off of what they've been giving us. But, the casual fan base, it's going to take them a little while to get there. Canelo has casuals, no doubt. Some of them are just Canelo casuals. Some of them are casual boxing fans. It's tough to say, but with Ryan Garcia, if they can keep Mikey Garcia in-house, a guy like Virgil Ortiz, the Mexican-American fan base is going to be huge with DAZN. They've already come out and said, the vast majority of their subscribers come from California and are Mexican and Mexican-American. So I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they're done, but I'll say this, they haven't really handled this subscriber thing that well. I myself have had it both ways, where they made it sound like there's an option to put it on hold on DAZN, like if you go to DAZN.com. But I have DAZN. I actually don't have DAZN on my phone. I just have it on my I can get it there quickly if I'm like someplace and want to watch a fight or something. But I have it, just on my TV. So I actually had to hold it through my Roku. But I've seen where if you signed up at the site and that's your base of it, like on your phone, and that's where you have the app downloaded, that they have a hold option. So when they get back, you can just, go with it. Now, from what I understand is they still haven't addressed, like yearly subscribers, people that paid the $100 to have it for a year. Are you going to give them an extra couple months on the back end? That's something that they haven't addressed, which I think it's kind of like dropping the ball. I understand you want to try to keep as many subs as possible, and they have put out some shoulder programming now, but still, dude. And they do have archive fights. It's not just the fights they put on DAZN. They do have a pretty nice library, but you're not giving them new fights. And your content is not like ESPN Plus or even like a Showtime or HBO. Well, on Showtime, I can watch documentaries, I can watch shows, and they're giving us boxing content. And that's so obviously I think they've dropped the ball there. But the thing is, when I have it on hold, like I mentioned on my Roku, but when I bring it back, it says it's going to be $20. So am I going to be able to have, because I was on month to month, are they going to give me that option at that point to say $100? I don't know. I'm assuming, I hope so. But the way they have it in there, it kind of feels like they're not gonna. But I'm not gonna say that they're not gonna because I don't know because I haven't re-upped it yet. But I plan on just paying the $100, obviously, because I'm gonna use it. Period. And I was part of the grandfathered in folks that signed up right away that were paying $9.99. So they have their work cut out for them just to get back to where they were, which it sounds like it topped out at 800,000, 850, somewhere in there. And that was after a Canelo Kovalev, a sign up from the YouTubers, and then a now more famous, more known heavyweight, Mexican heavyweight, obviously Ruiz, fighting Ruiz and Joshua. So those three signups got him into the 800,000 range. Now, obviously, as the months drew on, even though, like I said, they gave us some hardcore, the hardcores, they gave us some good product already this year. But remember, most fans aren't hardcore. So it'll be interesting to do it, see how they bring it back. But, man, obviously, I really love their fight season thing. That was awesome. And it's just an easy way to go, oh, okay, cool, I'm getting some value here. Oh, those people are on it. Okay, I like those commercials. I like the program. I thought it was a lot better than the we're going to destroy pay-per-view. Pay-per-view's dead program. I thought that was kind of reaching. Especially to turn around. There is a debate about how many subs they have. I'm not here to debate that, but it's very telling when John Skipper tells you they weren't planning to raise it to $20. So they spent all this marketing campaign on saying pay-per-view's dead at $9.99 in a free month, only to turn around less than a year and put it to $20. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do love the Golden Boy DAZN. Let's get out there July 4th. I think that's a good call. Ryan Garcia can definitely bring in some signups, no doubt. I think he'll continue to rise in signups as he gets more famous. The only problem is it's not going to be against Jorge Linares. And I really wanted to see that fight, not like, oh, he has to fight Linares or it won't be a legit step up. I understand. Jorge Linares is out of the country. It's the same thing with Lomachenko. It's going to be hard to get him back, especially that quick. We don't even know when they're going to allow flights, let alone a training camp. So this is 2 months away, basically. It's the 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way. It was kind of crazy, to not have some sort of big fight on this weekend. You have a big fight. You have, a big horse race, obviously. And then you usually have the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs popping off, too. So that was pretty strange not to have that. But this is according to Mike Coppinger. Ryan Garcia return being planned July 4th. The zone in a in-studio setting, potentially first major boxing match since the pandemic shut down. But like he said, or like I said, Jorge Linares was being considered, but he's out now because he's out of the country. So hopefully they get a quality opponent because I like how they've been moving them slowly but surely. You know what I mean? I do like that. And I thought Linares was the combination of a good name that people know on the hardcore level, a solid fighter as well, because he definitely is. And it's just a good test to see where he's at right now. I really like that fight. Like I said, I'm not saying that there's not other. 135 is stacked, so I'm not saying that there's not other people, that can't, or other fighters that he can fight, and it'd still be a good fight. But I like the holiday thing. A lot of people, who knows where we'll be by that time. Hopefully in a better spot. Hopefully, right now we've bent the curve, right? Or I should say we flattened it. We bent it a little bit. Now we got to bend it, though. Now we got to bend it because we flattened it, but we don't know where we're going to go from here. Now that people are opening up, it's tough to say if it's going to go back down or if it's going to go back up. Or maybe, flattening that curve, and we're just going to stay at this level for a while. That could be too. It's really tough to say at this point. It's a lot of speculation at this point. I'm not going to sit there and tell you what I do know. It is going up. Besides like New York and New Jersey, it's obviously the cases are going up. But like I said, I'm on board for Ryan Garcia making a big splash to come back with. And, playing that audio last week of Bob Arum and how he plans on coming back sometime in mid-June and how he said there could be up to 2 to 3 fight events, live events a week, That would be phenomenal right now. I mean, we don't know when the NBA and others are going to come back, but right now ESPN needs that content, right? And so does FS1, FS2, ESPN2, ESPN News. By the way, tonight there was, 4 or 5 fights in a row. I know I saw Morales and Barrera won, and then Pacquiao and Marquez won. So that's pretty cool. I actually recorded both those. I haven't seen those in a while, so I'm going to watch those at some point. The other ones I had seen recently, so, or at least chunks of it. But and that was on ESPN News, by the way, if you're listening to this right now. They're on right now. I think they run for another hour or two. So, yeah, Golden Boy, DAZN, Ryan Garcia, July 4th. Sign me up. Let's make it a decent opponent, though. That I really wanted that Linares fight. But, hey, you know, I suppose I should stop whining about it. I'm all talking about young fighters last week whining, and here I am whining, right? Oh, by the way, I got a good feedback from that. You know, I knew I'd step on people's toes of favorite fighters, but I got a lot of good feedback on that. You know, I don't do a ton of, like, over-the-top rants just to rant and clickbait, but I thought I laid a pretty good case out, to be honest with you. The young fighters, you know, talking major trash without accomplishments. I thought that was a pretty good segment. And like I said, I wasn't just being a little whiny, or I wasn't just being like the guy not in his teens or 20s or early 30s, like, oh, get off my lawn, and oh, you know, I don't like talking shit. I think people, they just don't realize it, dude. Like, just give you another example. Like, I've given people examples about shit talk before, right? Like, I don't know if I've done this one, but the University of Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, in the 80s, this country by storm of college football. Now, me, myself, I love college football. I've loved it since I was a little kid. And, you know, when I was in my childhood, when I was a very little kid, and not in my teens yet, you know, during the 80s, like, my Gopher squad, Minnesota Gophers, they went to back-to-back, like, Independence Bowls. And, you know, they just weren't that good at all. And throughout the year, whether it's non-conference or big conference matchups, or, like I said, bowls and national championships or whatever, they made 2, like, in the 80s, you know. So I was a huge college football fan, but I needed another team to root for in these big games, in the big non-conference matchups, in the regular season with the rival, in the national championship or a big Rose Bowl or whatever. And Miami, basically everybody outside of Miami hated them. It was Michigan. It was Notre Dame. It was even Alabama and other places in the South. It was, you know, Texas. It was Nebraska. It was Oklahoma. It was USC and UCLA at that time. And a lot of people did not like Miami. And if you look at the rule changes back then, you know how they send, like, in the NFL and in college football, they'll send clips to programs and teams to say, hey, this is what we expect. This is acceptable celebration, or maybe they're talking about a hit or whatever, you know, a style of hit, a rule change or whatever, something to do with rule changes, right? But if you look back in the day when they changed the rules on celebration in college, it was basically like a highlight reel of Miami Hurricane players. Well, that was my squad. Now it's my second squad because I'm always going to be the Gophers. If the Gophers go against Miami, I'm Gophers. But like I said, throughout my life, the Gophers have sucked. Last year was their best year they've ever had. We had some little pop-ups for a couple of years and then go away. They've literally won 10 games, I believe, twice, 3 times since I've been alive. So that puts it in perspective. But my second squad, the Canes, were the biggest shit-talking dudes out there on a football field. This is pros and college. I mean, you could say, like, Ali invented swagger, and there were some pro football defenses like the Steel Curtain and the Purple People Eaters and, you know, swagger, right? But if you look at on the court or on the field, swagger, Miami kind of came up with that full-on swagger, like that aggressive swagger. Not just, like I said, being Dr. J or being Magic or Michael or something like that, or even Bird had a swagger. These guys had swaggers. Andre Agassi had swagger on a tennis court. Like, there was swagger out there, but the word swagger, you know, the way we use it now, the aggressiveness of it, the over-the-top, here I am, not only am I talking to you, but I'm going over the top in my aggressive with it. Like I said, a swag like Ali, that was the Miami Hurricanes. And that still is today. They don't have as much to swag about, but it is. And so that was my squad. All these All-American Notre Dame fans and Oklahoma, Nebraska. I want Michigan. I liked those programs back in the day. I loved watching them play, but Miami was my squad. So if I don't like shit talkers, how the fuck would I not? How could I support Miami out of all the and I'm talking pro in college. Like I said, I mean, Dr. J probably had the most swag in the 80s, 70s. Well, if you look at the ABA, I suppose that is swag. That was pretty close to being swagger then too. But just a little example of I don't mind trash talk, guys. I really don't. So those who got a little offended on that, just know that, and it's probably just because that I went at one of your favorite fighters. That's probably what it is. What else we got here? Okay, so we got Gary Russell, delusional Gary Russell on his Loma comments. Oh, and in that list that somebody actually sent me right as the show got going, the 20 best heavyweights of all time. I'm going to check that out as well. And then the Bob Arum stuff. And I think we should let's get to the Bob Arum stuff right now. So, you know, I've already preferenced it by saying a lot of things about, you know, we all know Bob is the most successful promoter. He's been around doing it for 50 years. He needs to be respected in a lot of ways. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay. But in the same breath, and I understand that you are you're a promoter. So when Pacquiao leaves you, you're not going to bend over backwards to promote Pacquiao. I get it. I totally get it. You could say, oh, he's old or he's not the same guy, or that's fine. I get that. But the level of disrespect shown from Bob Arum and the fact that the media and even the fans, I don't see people really going at him, even on boxing Twitter, where we're all a bunch of savages. And it's just, obviously there's different levels of savagery, but the things he said when he had him, when he was lining up, when you know, he had Horn and Crawford were going to fight, and he was lining up, hopefully he thought Crawford, which made sense, would win, and then him and Pacquiao were going to fight. That was, when he had Manny, that's what his goal was. Period, point blank. There's no way around it. But he started to change his tune once he left. Oh, he's outpricing himself. That may be, and that's more acceptable. I can accept that for a criticism or why he left. You know, I get that. That's actually more legit because you said, well, he wanted too much money. But then you turn around and waste money. You know, you didn't make any money with Tyson Fury paying him at least $10, maybe more $1 million either, until you barely broke even. You know, now in this last fight with Wilder, of course. But when you think of it, you know, where Fury's going to go, I can understand that potential. But then again, that means you didn't think that of Crawford then. Because, you know, you had a guy that could pass a torch for him right there. But I can at least understand that. But just this is all. I'm just going to kind of do it in a chronological order of his words, not mine, and him talking about it. Okay?
It's all free. It's on ESPN. Get up early, put it on DVR, and see it later. And plan is for Terrence to fight the winner. And that's.
Now, just to set that, he was talking about Horn's fight.
Actually, Horn he looked good against Pacquiao. But remember that fight he had, I think it was November or December a couple of years back, where he looked like crap? That's the fight he was talking about, trying to set up a Horn Crawford.
One of the reasons I'm going there to make all the arrangements. Hopefully we'll do it in March. May go over to April. But one thing is for sure, we want to do it in the United States.
And he's talking about presumably Horn fighting Crawford.
Manny is, I'm going to try to line up a fight for Manny in April, and then the hope is that he then fights for the welterweight championship, the winner of Terrence against either Horn or Corcoran, whoever's the welterweight champion. Hopefully it'll be Terrence there, so he'll finally get a crack at Manny Pacquiao, but he'll be the champion, Terrence will be, and Manny will be the challenger.
Looks like someone got you plans ready for 2018.
So that was the plan. The plan. Something's going on with my mic here. Of course it was the plan. You know, of course. Why wouldn't it be, right? But so the plan was to do that. You were going to pass the torch. You know, you were going to do your thing. That's what you were going to do, okay? And that's a cool plan. You know, that's legit. I get that. But now let's talk about some other things pertaining to this subject. And some of it is him before that fight. One of them I'll show will be before that fight. And see what I mean. And he's talking about, this is an interview, and that was an interview done by a variety of people. That last one, I'll give some credit to Fight Hype on that, or I'm sorry, Fight Hub. But that one was a little different. But I will be giving credit as it goes out like I normally do, obviously. This one is Hustle Boss, okay? So, which is what, Chris Robinson? So here is him talking about, this is with Crawford and Polstall in a potential fight with Pacquiao and Crawford, okay? And this is when, obviously, he still had him, okay? So this is the interview.
Pacquiao's coming back November 5th out here. Do you think he's going to be really keep a close eye on this Crawford-Postol fight? What do you think?
I know that he will. I talked to Michael Kahns, and they got the times that it's going to be shown in the Philippines Sunday morning, Saturday night. And Manny says that he'll watch. And if he doesn't, he'll, if it coincides with church, he'll go to church and tape it and watch it. But he will, by Sunday night, have seen the fight.
Got you. Terrence Crawford, if he were to win, did you always feel he was a fighter who could be competitive with a Manny Pacquiao, that he's ready for that kind of stage?
Well, I don't know. A lot of my matchmakers think that Manny is too much for him. One thing about Terrence is that he is vulnerable to a good southpaw puncher. You know, he leaves himself open a little bit. So the question is, Manny, who's a terrific puncher, if he nails Crawford, what happens? That's a good fight, though. I mean, I would pay to see that fight.
Right. So, and obviously we all would. You know what I mean? We definitely would. It's a legit fight. Totally. But that's my point. He even said some of his matchmakers, and, there was a time, and I'm not trying to put Crawford on blast here. There was a time where Crawford did leave himself too open to be seen as, like, maybe an elite fighter at that time, to be honest. Because there's times where you're like, man, God, he's getting hit too much. You know what I mean? And there's just, there's other things he said, about it in a positive way. They're trying to make the fight. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. But then once he leaves them, it's different. It's money. It's money. Oh, he outpriced them. Oh, that fight won't even be competitive. Leave him alone. basically. Bob Arum, here's a headline off of a video. This is Filipino boxing. If Pacquiao fights Crawford or Spence, he could be permanently hurt. That's what he said. Now, of course, anybody could be permanently hurt, but come on, dude. He's an old man. It's not competitive. Leave Manny alone. All this stuff. And, if you really believe that, you moved on off of Pacquiao because he's getting too old and you worry about him, you know what I mean? That's cool. That's fair. But clearly, that's not what this is all about. So now you're bringing up stuff that you're trying to make it, and this is where the media, and I'm not pointing out one person. I've already talked about a couple, Fight Hype, Fight Hub. I credited that video in the last one. But, I mean, come on, dude. Like, some of this is it's just ridiculous. Like, you can't cross this line when you're talking about, that type of stuff. It's just like I said, it's super disrespectful. There's just no way around it. And, in this one interview, he really, really, really goes in for quite some time on a subject that he really tries to make it like, oh, I care so much about him. It's the health of him. I'd like to keep him, but I just, that type of thing. And it gets to the point where you're like, dude, are you really going to do that? Like, to that point? Here's another clip.
In the mix with the likes of Spence or
This is Fight Hub.
Garcia,
TV.
a Porter. Does that concern you that he's still fighting at this age and he's getting thrown in there with guys that are half his age?
Well, all I would say is that I just hope he doesn't get hurt. When you reach a certain age, it becomes more dangerous than if you're younger because the cranium doesn't enable you to absorb blows if you're older than if you were younger. When you're younger, it has a lot more resilience.
Yeah, and when you're younger, your brain's not developed. But we'll keep going.
Than when you get older. Now, that's not invariably the case. It wasn't the case with George Foreman, but pretty well it's been the case. So you just have to hope. Manny Pacquiao is a wonderful person. He brought a lot to the sport. He does a lot for his country, and you wouldn't want to see him get hurt.
Would you have reservations if he said, next fight I want Terrence Crawford?
Well, I killed the fight. Yeah.
You wouldn't want that for Manny?
No, because I would know how it would end. Not that I knew it would end in serious disability for Manny. That I wouldn't know. But as a fight,
I mean, let's hear that again. Talking about disability.
Would end. Not that I knew it would end in serious disability for Manny. That I wouldn't know. But as a fight, it would only end one way.
You wouldn't want to see Manny take a lot of damage and pull towards your emotions, putting him in a position like that?
Forget my emotions. I wouldn't want to see him take that kind of damage because it might affect his future life, quality of his future life.
So there you have it. He's talking about, I just don't want him to get hurt. That's actually what the whole thing is, And it's so, this is where it starts to piss me off. The other stuff, I get it. The money stuff, I get it. Here's another clip, though. It's getting ridiculous.
Spence out the picture this year? Is it possible to...
Pacquiao don't want to fight. Leave Pacquiao alone. He's an old man. He doesn't want to fight Crawford. He didn't want to fight him when I was promoting it. It's no disgrace Pacquiao not fighting Crawford. Pacquiao is not competitive with him. He's a great fighter still, but he's not competitive.
So basically saying, leave the old man alone. Which, if that's what your thought process is, that's cool. But as we know, that's not what it normally has been when we're talking about this. Here's another one from.
You're looking at maybe Porter, Garcia.
Manny Pacquiao won't fight him because.
Well, you said you don't want Manny to fight him either.
Well, yeah, I don't want.
I give credit to Marcos there because he at least finally someone followed up and said, "Well, you said you stopped the fight from happening." Legit there at least.
Manny to fight him because it's devastation, and I have a sore spot for Manny. And guys like Sean Gibbons and so forth don't want Manny to fight him because they feel the same way. So rule out a Pacquiao fight. Then that leaves maybe Danny Garcia. I don't think that's a particularly big fight, and it's like a who cares fight. I look more at the 140s who will eventually become 147s.
So he's talking about, what other fights can be made, and he goes into the 140s, and obviously promotes some of those guys, whatever. But, oh, wow. Sorry. I'm telling you, though, like, oh, wow, I can't believe someone deleted that text. Anyway, it gets to the point where, you're talking about brain damage and this and that. Like, just stick with the outpriced himself. He overpriced himself. And this is an exact example of today I'm telling the truth. Yesterday I lied, but I lied Actually, it's not a perfect example of that because today he's not even telling the truth. The truth is he wanted to fight. So I guess he's saying, well, I do want to fight now. So, that type of thing. And the crazy thing that sparked me to think that, it's funny because I was looking for a picture of Pacquiao and Bob, and I just Googled something real quick, and boom, something popped right up about this. It just came right up. This is spin.ph. And, they even talked about, well, now he wants to fight, Before he was saying it's too much of a risk, this, that, and the other. And, Manny's a true friend. He lived up to his contract. We have a great personal relationship. This is what he's saying. A very great personal relationship. I've always, and he talked about these journalists from the Philippine Star and the Manila Bulletin. They've been fair, and because there was an article saying kind of in between on it. So I want to give credit to them as well. A lot of it's the U.S. media here, and this is more what he said. Well, he's not as good as he was at 30, but that's not a knock on Manny. It's just the nature. It can compare him to a 40-year-old. He's just not that. Manny's very intelligent. He knows better than I, and it's up to him to make a determination who he wants to fight. It's just a bridge too far is what they were. That's what those two I mentioned, those outlets from the Philippines, they said, well, I thought you meant, now you want the fight before you didn't, and because he said it's a bridge too far. Like, the fight is just not worthy. Like, I just had a couple of audio things there. And, he said he killed it and all that. They go on to say that in this. And what else did he say? He said, and then, then he's on the flip side of it. There are expectations when it comes to Manny, and, he's such a great Hall of Fame fighter, and there's exemptions, I should say, exceptions to, he talked about Foreman and how, at 45, but it's not a general rule. It's a license to get hurt, basically. And that's just more quotes that make you go, really, dude? Like, come on, man. Like, and now what got me, though, to the stage I needed to rant about it was him saying, well, you know what? I was just wrong. I was just wrong in general. And this is actually more here. He said basically, you know what? I was wrong because I actually hadn't talked to Manny personally. So you're going to say all this shit about he overpriced himself, he never wanted to fight with Crawford, all this stuff, but you haven't even talked to him personally. You haven't even talked to him personally. You say you got a great relationship with him, but you hadn't talked to him personally. And actually, you know what it was? It was just cons. It was just his people telling me he didn't want the fight. And that's where I went wrong. Well, why didn't you pick up the phone or go visit him or whatever? Like, how are you going to disrespect Manny Pacquiao to the level of that? But not, now you're admitting that you never even talked to him? How are you going to spread that misinformation, that much misinformation, and outright lies, and then come back and say, you know what, all this time, shucks, I just actually hadn't really, the problem was I hadn't talked to him. It was this team that misled me. Now I'm down for the fight. Yeah, let's make it, So this is what he's saying now. This is Keith Idec from Boxing Scene. We've had tentative talks for Crawford Pacquiao. And that's what pisses me off. Now he says we've been in talks, right? But yet, and also he said he's been in talks. And also, like I said, that he hadn't talked to him and it was actually his team. So this is Idec, though. There was a time when Bob Arum was sure he'd never see Pacquiao and Crawford. Freddie Roach did come out and say that wasn't a great matchup, for him. Arum himself didn't think Pacquiao would have a chance against Crawford. He's too young, yada, yada, yada. A few years later, Arum finds himself exploring the possibilities for the fight. To make it happen, we'd have to do it outside the U.S., outside the Philippines, of course, and we'd have to have a big site fee. So, he talks about, like, how certain fights couldn't happen, like AJ, Anthony Joshua and Fury because of the step-aside. Who's going to pay that kind of step-aside? But, if they paid excess of $60 million to get AJ and Ruiz there, they'd probably pay more than that, right? But my point is he's speculating about, well, we need these big fights, and there's not going to be any big fights until we need big fights with the audience here. But if we get a site fee, we can. And I actually heard him talking about with Wilder and Fury now, it may have to be a site fee in a different country that's willing to host it because of the money generated. But here he goes. He said, I had feelers out before all this happened. Well, before all this coronavirus happened, he was dogging Manny Pacquiao. Two of those clips was before that, where it was pretty much down the line. So this is what he said. Before the coronavirus, he explained where it was pretty much down the line about getting Pacquiao and Crawford a fight. Of late in the summer or fall, then, of course, everything blew up. But I'm optimistic that I will be able to continue these talks in the next month or so. I talked to Terrence and his manager, Brian Bomack, about it. It appears to me that Crawford and Manny want to go ahead with the fight, so we'll see from now. The world is different than what it was, blah, 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 blah. If I had to bet, I'd bet Crawford. But now I think Pacquiao. But now I think Pacquiao is in with a good chance. He's in there with a good chance. There's no question it'd be an entertaining fight. Manny seems dedicated again. I've had the situation before where guys get a little older, but somehow they keep their skills. Their skills don't diminish. So here we are. Just to repeat it, I've had situations before where guys get a little older, just a little 40, but he's a little older now, but somehow the skills aren't diminished. Look at big George Foreman winning the title at 45. And so it's kind of funny how now it's changed. If somebody's willing to put up a big site fee, let's do it, basically. And so now you're willing to do the fight. And that's what's so degenerate about it. So you went from worrying about his well-being as a human being and saying you have this great relationship with him, only to not have talked to him personally, and then spread misinformation and lies about he don't want the fight with Crawford. He doesn't want it. He overpriced him. He's over the hill. I'm worried about him. And that's where not enough of the media and the boxing fans are speaking out against this. And I'm not this guy that's out here, I'm a crusader. No. I'm not ranting just for clickbait. This is just being honest, dude. Like, why the fuck hasn't the media covered this more? So you're going to just let, like I said, Bob Arum's a promoter. He's going to say stuff out of the side of his mouth. I get that, but this is another layer. This is a layer of disrespect for any fighter, let alone a top 20 pound-for-pound fighter of all time. It's nonsense talking about flip-flopping. I mean, it's just a disrespect, and nobody calls him out on it. I gave Marcos Viegas credit because he at least said, well, you actually stopped the fight. That's what you said. So he was using his words. At least he said something minorly about it, but, dude, I wish, if Bob would have just said he's pricing himself out, I'm not paying $20 million to continue to lose money, cool. That'd be fine. But to go to this amount of disrespect, it's bullshit. And the media and the part-time media should call him out way more, and the fans too. But the fans, a good chunk of them take their cue from guys like Steve Kim and others. Let's just put it out there. And I'm talking about others in a wide variety. So where is the media on this one? And I'm really talking about, like I said, the fans, the part-time media, that's cool, but I'm really talking about the full-time media. But yet we hear one guy on Twitter calling out the like media over politics or over this coronavirus, but then this media member in his own media member platform is not doing the thing either. You see that all over the place. So it's disrespectful to do that. And this is beyond some sort of, well, I used to promote him, I'm not going to promote his fights, or say he out-cashed him, or he's trying to cash out or whatever. So anyway, and Manny has said time and time again, I never said no to the Crawford fight. And of course he's going to want to get paid. I mean, we're paying people $15 million to fight roles now. Not we, but you know what I mean? Like I said, at least $20 million you had to put up for 2 fights this summer you didn't make much money on. But I guess you just didn't have the same faith with Crawford as you did with Fury, and I can see that to an extent because Fury talks a bunch of shit, right? But and he's just more personal and all that. But like I said, you've lost money on guys. So it's like, if you're going to lose money, why not, turn the page? And if that's what you decided not to do, that you didn't want to lose money, cool, just keep it right there. Anyway, 2 more things. And there's 60 seconds left of the live stream. I did see a few folks get in there. 646-381-4990 is the number to dial. You can listen to the full show all at once rather than waiting to the archive. 646-381-4990. Just got 2 segments left. One of them is a surprise segment that someone actually sent me, the 20 best heavyweights of all time. Someone said I should, they want me to do a segment on it, so I'm going to do it. I do have a little boxing Twitter stuff that we'll throw out there as well. But right now, this is about Gary Russell. Gary Russell Jr., for many years, Gary Russell Jr., first of all, he had injuries. So that did limit him, becoming a contender and becoming a champion and in his career in general. I've always said that. And I'll always stand by that because those are true. Those are true items. Now, he also was not the guy who shied away from, I'm okay with fighting once a year. He was okay with that. He was okay with what Heyman said, or not said, but he was okay with, how he treated him. And then recently, in recent times, whether that's 4 months ago, whether that's 8 months ago, whether that's longer than now, he has now become more vocal about the fights that he wants, And when you only fight once a year, usually it's going to be a Mando. So even if he's I remember a few years back, he was going to be in line for a big fight. That's what he said. But he wanted a tune-up because he had been out, and he also had a mandatory due. So why not? He's also turned down fight offers, and it made it sound like he was going to take his Mando to get some money, and then fight the guy. Therefore, kind of like I said about Lomachenko, wanted to get a stay busy fight and then fight Lopez. Well, then maybe in those two fights he can get what he wants for this one fight. Makes sense. The problem is sometimes you come back and you've been out for a year and you already have injury-prone, things with your hands and your knuckles. A lot of times you can miss out on a fight because you come back and you end up getting hurt, and so you're not even available for that next fight you really wanted. Now, he really has been going after a lot of folks lately, and I'm happy to see that he's not happy with where his career is right now. He has something to do with that. The politics have something to do with that, no doubt, and his injuries have something to do with that. But if you're going to fight once a year and you're going to be okay with it, you're going to announce it, that's on you, though, too. That is on you as well. And some of these fighters that he's called out, those guys have been a little more active, and also they've fought better talent. So that kind of blows up in your face. However, so on one hand, I love that he's now seeing, okay, I don't have many years left. I might as well just go for it. I want to get some big fights, and I respect that part of it. Some of the stuff he said I think is a little misleading, and you've seen people in the media and on boxing Twitter especially really now getting behind Gary Russell, whereas they used to shit talk him all the time. Don't let him sign with DAZN. Oh my God, that'd be just their favorite fighter, just like Tevin Farmer, right? And I've always liked Gary Russell, skills and all that. But on this one is just delusional. So this is from Keith Heidick, Boxing Scene. Gary Russell Jr., Lomachenko, here's the headline. Lomachenko should be pound for pound number one. Got a gift against me. So a separate debate about who's pound for pound right now. Is it Crawford? Is it Canelo? Is it Lomachenko? Some people would say Usyk, whatever. I'm willing to say, okay, maybe he shouldn't be number one, whatever. That's at least a debate. But some of the things he says in this, I mean, golly. So he goes on to say, I don't think Lomachenko should be pound for pound number one. And Russell told this to AB Boxing, by the way, AB Boxing News. It's a YouTube channel. This is where Heidick got the quotes. If I don't think Lomachenko should be pound for pound, it doesn't matter if he beat me or not. If I don't think Lomachenko should be pound for pound, it doesn't matter if he beat me or not. He shouldn't be pound for pound neither. Lomachenko shouldn't be pound for pound. I don't think he's a pound for pound fighter. So what's that saying about you? Then he goes on, and this is where it gets, and that's cool if he does. I mean, you don't think he should be in the top 10 pound for pound? Like resume and eye test, and he beat you? That's a little shaky, or that's not shaky, that's delusional. He should be in the top 10 pound for pound. You can sit there and debate, like I said, 1 through 3, whatever. Top 5, whatever. Okay. Vasily Lomachenko, he knows he got a gift. He don't have the hand speed that I have. Have the boxing ability, the ring generalship, and the IQ that I got. I mean, really, dude. So of all the fighters in the world right now, you're gonna point him out and say that Lomachenko got a gift for one, which is ridiculous. Two, that he doesn't. You have more hand speed. Okay, I'll give you that. You do have the fastest hands. Whatever, that's cool. But boxing ability, ring generalship, and IQ. Didn't he display that against you? Now he says, well, he got a little seasoning, but he overall, he can't fuck with me. He got a little seasoning, but he really can't fuck with me. He got a gift. He fought a dehydrated version, the lowest version of Gary Russell Jr. Now, I've never heard him say that he was dehydrated until this point. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of videos out there. I don't see them all. There's a lot of tweets out there. I don't see them all, although I have appreciated people sending me tweets to add to the Twitter segment, the boxing Twitter segment. So maybe he did. Maybe he's used this before. I've never heard him say he was drained, but maybe. So he got a little seasoning, but he can't fuck with me. He got a gift. He fought the dehydrated version. Well, you shouldn't be at 126 anymore then if you're going to talk about dehydrated. You know, it was a split decision, and he got it basically, the knock. And it wasn't a knockdown in the fight that wasn't even called. There was a knockdown in the fight that wasn't called. So I mean, that's neither here or there. But I plan to move up to 135. He's at 135. I definitely would like to fight again. You know, the fully hydrated. You know what I'm saying? Gary Russell Jr. I feel like I'm one of the best things out there. I don't think no one can compete against me. You know, I had one hiccup in my career because I was young. You know, I was young. I wasn't as smart as I am now, even though that was, his third fight, Lomachenko, as a professional? Now, I understand he's got basically almost 400 amateur fights. Don't get me wrong. But now he's saying I was young. Well, which one was it? Were you dehydrated and young, or just young, or both, or what? I mean, which one is it? You know, I was young. I wasn't as smart as I am now. You know, if I was as smart as I am now when I fought Lomachenko, I wouldn't have cut the weight. You know, I had to lose like 5.5 pounds. And this is where I'll give him a little bit more, because he says now that when he's talking about smart, that he would have said, screw the belt, like Salido did. I wouldn't have cut the weight. You know, I wouldn't have been in the sauna. I wouldn't have cut the weight. I would have just been fine. I would have beat his ass. And I wouldn't have gotten my title like Salido did, you know, but I wasn't educated enough. Even though you say you weren't educated enough, but you had the example of Salido right before you. So I don't know. It is what it is. I understand his point there, but this is the first time I'm learning that he was dehydrated. And that's why he lost the fight. I'm interested in seeing Teofimo and Lomachenko. I'll definitely interested in see that fight. I don't care who wins. I want Lomachenko either way. He can lose, and it wouldn't matter. I want Lomachenko. I need to do it for myself. And I feel like it was a fluke. So it was a fluke. That game, it was a fluke. You got to do it again to prove it to me. Prove it to me. Make me a believer, because I don't believe that shit. Tell him, come and get it. So it was a fluke. You got to make me a believer. I don't believe you beat me. Make me a believer. It's kind of like Wilder saying the other day, I don't think he's a champion. Well, dude, he's got the belt. So you might as well stop that right now. I mean, these are about as delusional quotes as you can get. I mean, come on, dude. It was a fluke. You think that was a fluke? And now you're blaming it on just dehydrating? Well, there was also this. There was also that. It was a close fight. It was a split decision. So many different angles he's taken here. And it just, wow. It's just over the top, man. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on, man. That's about as delusional, like I said, as it gets. Okay. I'm going to leave Gary alone. Like I said, I want him to get a big fight. But it doesn't mean that I have to agree with that nonsense. I mean, that's what that is. That's straight nonsense. Boxing Twitter. Let's see what we got here. I'm not going to go too long here, guys. Oh, right. I forgot. My bad. Okay, ringtv.com. This is Bill Kaplan's 20th greatest heavyweights. It says by Doug Fisher. So it's Bill Kaplan's 20 greatest heavyweights by Doug Fisher on Ring TV. And, you know, Doug Fisher, years ago he was on the show. He's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to boxing. So he's got Joe Louis, number one. Well, actually, it's not his list. It's not his list. But he's got Joe Louis, number one heavyweight. Muhammad Ali, number two. I'm on board. Number 3, Larry Holmes. Okay, that's gonna draw some controversy. Excuse me. Rocky Marciano at 4. George Foreman at 5. Joe Frazier at 6. So Joe Frazier beat Ali and then went to war with him 2 more times. But when they fought, when Foreman and Frazier fought, obviously he got messed up. But then Foreman lost to Ali, and so overall he's saying that I got him above him. Lennox Lewis is 7th. Holyfield is 8th. Lennox Lewis being 7th, I can't go for that. I love Lennox Lewis, but you got to admit, like, he got screwed against Holyfield. But let's be honest about where Holyfield was in that fight, and forget that. Forget that anyway. Like, Tyson was way over the hill. So, and I'm not even bringing up his knockout losses at all. That's pretty high. I can understand the whole Holyfield below him because he beat him, but I don't know, man. I don't know about Lennox Lewis being that high. Gene Tunney, I was wondering where the old schoolers beside Marciano be up here. 9, Gene Tunney, okay. Jack Dempsey, 10. Sonny Liston, 11. I was wondering where he was coming. Okay. Ken Norton at 12. You look at those 3 fights with Ali, kind of interesting there. Riddick Bowe, I was wondering where he was coming to. That's 13. Jersey Joe Walcott, 14. 15, Floyd Patterson. Vitaly Klitschko, 16. Mike Tyson, 17. Now, Mike Tyson was in a better top 10 in the 80s and early 90s, which he cleared out, except for fighting Holyfield, right? And obviously, he almost got in a fight with Lennox Lewis, but Lennox Lewis got knocked out too. And so that kind of dropped. 2 separate times, Lewis was right on the cusp, and then something happened, Obviously, the Holyfield thing was about to happen, but then he lost. Remember, he lost in Japan to Buster Douglas. So Tyson 17. I probably wouldn't. I don't know that. Klitschko fought like he had a lot of defenses, but I'm not trying to say the talent in the 2000s like was just horrendous compared to the 80s. But I'd take those 80s heavyweights and going through most of them over what Vitaly did. But it is what it is. I'm sorry. Oh my God, he said Vitaly, not Vladimir. That's my fault. I still would pick him over Vitaly, though. I would pick Tyson over Vitaly. I forgot about that. Jerry Quarry. Jimmy Ellis. That's 18. This is 19. Jimmy Ellis is 19. And last but not least is Vladimir. So Vladimir. So I'm there with that. I think he should be over Vitaly. That's a good list, though. I think it's a very good list. Larry Holmes, what do you do with him? It's tough because on one side, you can't count the Ali fight because obviously the Mayo Clinic here in Minnesota even said he shouldn't even be in the ring, but everybody knew. Look at that Ali and Holmes documentary done. Oh, my God. It's so sad to see Muhammad in that sense. And I love Larry Holmes. Best, one of the best jabs ever. And on the back end, you can't just go, well, Tyson killed him. Yeah, that's true, but I wouldn't call that like a great primed up Larry Holmes either. Marco Marciano at 4. Marciano. He did fight a fair amount of light heavyweights that came up, but that was the thing to do back there, and it wasn't light heavyweights going to 175 all the way up to 225 and 250 or something like that. A lot of these heavyweights weren't even 200 pounds back then. So, but Marciano, his biggest win was, over a completely done Joe Louis. So, I don't know. That's interesting. George Foreman, God, he was so dominant. And then what he did in his second wave was impressive, too. Joe Frazier. I still think Lennox is a little high. And I understand people having a problem with even looking at Evander Holyfield over him because they fought. And Holyfield, those Riddick Bowe, man. I think Riddick Bowe should be higher in this list, too. But this is a pretty good list. I like this. I like how they had Ken Norton. I've never seen Ken Norton that high, but I get it. I get the angle because if you watch those fights, based off certain eye tests and who he fought, Riddick Bowe could be higher. But then again, they have that whole, I'm not going to fight Lennox Lewis thing. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's a good list, man. I like that. That was interesting. Oh, this is what got me too. Bob Arum, Terrence Crawford is equal or better than Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, this kind of minorly falls under being a promoter, but I still think like when he talks about Lomachenko for Bob Arum, he actually passes, literally just skips over the four kings: Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Marvelous. He skips those guys and goes right to Ali when he talks about Loma, which I think it's pretty disrespectful. You don't have to. You don't have to even go that far. If you want to skip Floyd, cool. I don't know why you would, but I get it. But you're just gonna skip Roy and Purnell too? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, this is one of his recent comments. Terrence Crawford, promoter Bob Arum, said Terrence Crawford is equal to or better than Sugar Ray Leonard. First of all, we know he's not equal to him at this stage in his career. Okay, obviously. But better than Sugar Ray Leonard? Off eye tests? Benavidez, Hearns, Duran, Hagler. Come on, dude. You're really going to put that up with like Gamboa and Postal? Come on, dude. He reminds me of Leonard. That to me is a great compliment because I always thought Leonard was the best. And this guy's equal or better. Terrence is certainly the best welterweight I've ever seen since Sugar Ray Leonard. At least, you're disrespecting Manny Pacquiao there, who you had, and same with Floyd, but okay, whatever. I don't know. Come on, dude. But I can at least handle those type of overzealous comments about fighters way more than I can the amount of disrespect that was coming out of Arum's mouth about Manny Pacquiao. Come on now. For those who were wondering earlier, when I was talking about a tweet about Steve Kim, this is what a tweet that I was talking about. Not about the actual tweet about Steve Kim. This was a response to the tweet. Was thinking about wasting my time, my life. Let me read you that. I got it. It's way there. Hold on. Was thinking about wasting my. God, I can't read the other. This is all cropped up. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Was thinking about wasting my life researching another person's tweets, whose opinions I don't like and share them in basically share them for attention. Then I remembered I'm not gay. Someone actually just screenshot this to me as well. So he's saying it's gay to research somebody's tweet that's in the media. And, it is what it is. Now, this is what I was talking about, and I wasn't talking about this person, which I agree with. My thing is, if you really think, and this is his response, Cheap Seats Boxing, this is a response to that Vince dude. My thing is, if you really think it's a problem, he has a job with that, with the biasness of that, then tweet at, ESPN. Otherwise, it starts to come off as a little single white female-ish. And I can appreciate that comment, and that's why I wanted to make sure that wasn't being thought of that I meant that tweet. I respect that tweet. I agree with that tweet so much in a lot of ways. I think you could do both. I think you could tweet it and send it to ESPN. It's kind of like complaining about decisions but not signing a petition or not making a phone call or sending a letter to that commission. if you complain about stuff on Twitter but don't follow up, then it'd be basically what he's saying. So I have followed up. And but I think that's a great tweet. That is true. You should come at ESPN too. It's not like he came on. I mean, he just tweeted it too. So I'm okay with him just tweeting it. The original guy that said that. That the guy who I said earlier in the show does lend himself to being a fanboy for PBC more than just being a boxing fan. Now, there's certain tweets that I've retweeted or liked of his because I agree with the sentiment he's talking about in the anti-PBC stuff, especially from the paid media. But he also comes across, like I said, way too much to sit there and vouch for the guy overall when it comes to being a boxing fan. But he tweeted a bunch of different tweets from 2015 and 2017 in that range of Steve Kim. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't. But I get what he's saying. I think you should take your complaints to the actual main source as well. I think that's legit. Couple more tweets as well. Actually, this is a little bit of news for the British, or the UK, the British Boxing Board of Control. They're basically trying to figure out when they're going to get going. At this present moment, there's no date of the lockdown to end. Depending upon the government decision, it is hopeful for that professional boxing will commence in July 2020. And we'll continue to use our best endeavors to do so, or working closely with promoters. So they're hoping by July, basically, they can get it going. Will crowd attending tournaments, mass gatherings be permitted? Initially, it's unlikely that a crowd would, promote or would be able to go to the promotion. No tournament will be permitted to run unless the venue has been approved by the BBB of C. The BBB of C. Post the government lockdown being lifted. So basically, it's just some news saying they really feel like in July there's a decent chance. They're talking about medical forms and different things that will have to happen to the fighters and to the people in these tournaments that they're talking about for other sports, and talking about social distancing as well. So just some measurements that they're going to take, but it does sound like June here and possibly July in the UK that this stuff is going to come back. So we'll see. Now, Steve Kim, somebody responded to that person who tweeted about Steve Kim today. He's very knowledgeable and is a straight shooter, unless it's regarding the college football, because he's a Miami fan. If you look up stuff he said about top-ranked fighters, promoters in the past, as well, I'm sure you'll find all kinds of negative stuff he said. Don't be a kook. That's what he's saying to Javon. Now, that's just not true. That tweet's not true. Someone sent that to me. That is not true. By the way, this is Steve Forum talking about Farhead Forum. This has nothing to do with anything, but you might be interested, blah, blah, blah. What difference does 60 years make, right? We were talking about the size of heavyweights and all that all-time heavyweight list. In 1960, the top 10 heavyweights averaged 6'1" and 200 pounds. That's the 60s. 1960. Now, you flash back even more, it's even lower. Now, today the average is 6'4", 249. So 6'1", 200. And like I said, you get back in the 20s and 30s, and that average goes down. But even 6'1", 200 is not that big in the 1960s compared to 6'4", 249. It's kind of interesting. Oh, here's another tweet. Adrian Broner. Broner. I just don't get it. This is what he said. I just don't get how the UFC fighter can lose multiple fights. And this is so ironic that it's coming from him, a guy that's still popular. I just don't get it how a UFC fighter can lose multiple fights and still get praised like a king, but boxers take one L and everybody's screaming he's done. Either Dana White does a great job promoting his fighters, or Showtime have to step up and be more on the fighter side so we all can still win at the end. Says a guy who in his biggest fights he hasn't shown up. He showed up against Maidana, no doubt. He's had some good fights. That Jesse Vargas was a good fight. But look what he did against, Porter. Look what he did against Pacquiao. Like, you could tell he wasn't in tip-top shape because he couldn't punch much, He wasn't punching like he was at 30 and 35 or even 40. Like, for him to say, man, one loss and I'm done. Dog, you're still popular today. You got a Pacquiao fight last year, dude. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Like, oh, my God. Ugh. Ay. Oh, and then another thing, Adrian Broner hollered at Gervonta Davis. My baby bro, Gervonta, really don't fuck with me no more. I'm sincerely hurt about this shit. Still my brother, though. Still my brother, basically. So my baby bro, Gervonta, he really don't fuck with me anymore. And he's hurt from that. Honestly, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Gervonta's not fucking with it anymore. I think it's a good thing. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, Dan Rafael. The Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather fight, we all know it wasn't a great fight. But it's been 5 years. Can you get over it already? I mean, golly, like, it's your fault that you thought it was just going to be this intense two-way fight that may even turn into a big war. Like, one, how many wars has Floyd Mayweather been in? Two, styles make fights. I say this plenty of times about this fight. Go look at the still shots of Manny Pacquiao about to get hit or getting hit on the way in to get Mayweather. To try to not just get him, but on the way in to actually, going to him, trying to land his punches. Go look at the stills and tell me those punches didn't hurt a little bit. He was already turning his face, like, after a while as the fight went on. He had, like, 2 good rounds. Dude, just get over it. It's a style thing, and it's so funny how say it that night, what they said that night. When you go back and watch the fight, it wasn't a garbage fight anyway. It wasn't horrible. People act like it was just the worst thing, and they throw 2015 out like it didn't happen. That was a good fight year, dude. We had a lot of good fights, but the end of boxing and all this shit. Look what we've gotten since then. And this is a time where we had free boxing on NBC and CBS and frickin' on ESPN basic cable. Like, we had so much more boxing in 2015 than we had. And I remember, and this is media members too, not just fans, oh, boxing's dead, it's over this. I mean, they would just destroy it, dude. And it's funny because, like here, Dan Rafael, these are some tweets from that night. I had Floyd up 106-103 as we go into the 12th of what has been a good fight. Now, he's not out there screaming, saying, oh, this is a great fight or nothing like that. But he's also not out there ripping it. He said it's been a good fight. It's been good. Here's Ellerby talking about it, too. There were large portions of the media and narrative who painted Floyd being scared of Manny Pacquiao, and the fight was lackluster. The media said that because their guy didn't win. It wasn't a fight of the year, but it was a very good, entertaining fight. Now, I don't think it was a very good fight. I don't think it was overly entertaining. There was a lot of skill in that fight, and like I said, go look at the stills every time he tried to come in at him almost, besides those 2 rounds, really. But Dan Rafael goes, what has been a good fight that night? It's been a good fight. Then they're talking about the rematch. We saw that once, and it wasn't good. It was bad. And I've seen this on my timeline so many times in the last chunk of days. this is a horrible fight, and this, that, and the other, and oh my God, it's just the worst thing ever. And they killed pay-per-view. No, HBO killed pay-per-view, more than likely. But it's just, come on, dude. Come on, man. Dana White, while everybody was fucking lying out by their pool, doing whatever the fuck they were doing in the quarantine, we were here fucking grinding, man. That's what he says. Well, you know what? First of all, there's a lot of people that don't have a pool to fucking lie by in America, right? And there's a lot of people that didn't have to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And there's a lot of people working. What were you doing, on the phone? Yeah, you were working so hard on the phone. Like, give me a break. What about all the people that were, really, really essential workers? What about them? By the way, Westgate in Las Vegas. Westgate, Las Vegas is a report from Las Vegas locally. Westgate, Las Vegas doesn't believe it will be safe to reopen until June 18th, according to an internal email sent to employees. So that's just a little bit of stuff right there, dude. Today someone tweeted this: day 55 without sports. It's been 55 days without live sports. That's pretty freaking crazy, man. That's pretty freaking crazy. Huh. Wow. And here's another one. Just like, you can rip Floyd for a lot of things, but why do this? Like, on this day, Floyd Mayweather retires after an unfulfilling win against Oscar De La Hoya. An unfulfilling win against Oscar. Let's go back to that fight. Who unfulfilled us in the last few rounds? It was a two-way fight. It was close to even, and maybe it was even, however you scored it, I don't know. But, dude, unfulfilling from Floyd, unfulfilling win. Oh, it was really an unfulfilling win for him. That makes it sound like he was the one not doing shit in the last few rounds. When was that fight won in the last few rounds? And clearly, it's funny because even Oscar says he had two, not one, but two rotary cuffs, torn rotary cuffs, not two. Most people have two, right? But he tore both of his rotary cuffs. Never said anything about that ever until now. Oh my God, give me a fucking break. But seriously, you can't look back at that Mayweather-Pacquiao fight like it was just the worst ever. Like, come on, dude, it wasn't even that bad, and everybody acted like it was just done, just over with, done. Like, come on. Oh, here's some more bitching. In the last decade, Mayweather wasn't good for boxing. Mayweather could be one of the main reasons why boxing pay-per-view buys and popularity downgraded. How did Mayweather downgrade the popularity when people kept watching his fucking fight? 800,000 and up used to watch it. I mean, come on. Come on. Boxing world too focused on him. But most of his performance in the last decades weren't highly attractive. And sometimes it was so disappointing. Sometimes why do you keep watching the fights then? What are you watching him for then? If you're in there for blood and guts, why are you expecting that from him? Of all fighters. Here's the Aficionados podcast. Lots of complaints about DAZN not pausing their yearly subs. They should have, not just for consumer relations. Many yearly subs came from Canelo Jacobs, which happened a year ago, which will expire now this month, extending a month to Garcia fight. Even extending a month to the Garcia fight. Okay. I guess I didn't get much out of that. But here's a good one. I heard that Instagram influencers are losing contracts with advertising due to the pandemic, which would be the first time that a virus killed a cancer. That's not all that bad because some of these influencers are just, oh my God, it's just like, what? Oh, why why are people following them? But hey, that is what it is. Here's Oscar saying, I'm proud you have promoted, Cinco de Mayo on September 16th. Now it's time for Golden Boy to take over our country's birthday, 4th of July. I hope that they do a good card there. That would be a great way to freaking get back there. That would be a great way. All righty, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'll save some of the boxing Twitter stuff in the future. Plus, I did kind of address some Twitter stuff earlier, so I don't want to go overboard. Like I said, I've been getting a good, some good feedbacks on it, but I don't want to overdo it either. Let's not forget that this was one of the most boring super fights. First of all, there's a lot of super fights that are boring in boxing history. A $100 pay-per-view ripoff. Neither guy tried or cared to please the fans. All right, so when you talk about pleasing the fans, you talk about Floyd Mayweather. When you say he doesn't care, he didn't try or care to please the fans, remember, a lot of people were the ones that said this is the guy that beat him. So, a 12-round sparring session, that hurt pay-per-views. Okay, that's whatever. I understand, it not being a two-way fight the whole time and how that did a few million people watching, would they have watched a better fight? Yes, of course. So I understand that part of it from the casual point of view in a sense. But the people aren't casuals that are complaining like a casual. You know what I mean? Actually, someone just sent this to me from Jim Carras, boxing. Carras. Delusiona dropped the ball big time. They have alienated and pissed off their consumers by not offering some sort of compensation for not providing any live content. As a full year paid subscriber, I am not even able to pause my subscription. Good chance I'll cancel when it's back. I doubt you'll cancel when it's back, but it is true. I think that if someone gave you $100, that you should probably just extend it a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I think I caught everything. I think I got to the stuff I wanted to get to. Yeah. I think that's it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, I'm going to keep coming. I have topics in my back pocket that are relevant to what's going on right now. Hopefully we get some fight, news though coming sometime for June, not coming in June, but hopefully over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can actually start to see where Bob Arum and even Al Heyman to an extent, right? He's not going to talk to us, but you assume that they were targeting June, especially Bob Arum. So you'd think in the next couple of weeks, the plans have become a little bit more clear. But yeah, like I said, I got a variety of topics. I'll throw in an interview here and there. Try to stay safe as much as possible. Like I said, I appreciate everybody, essential workers especially, but I appreciate everybody in general, especially people, of course I appreciate people listening to it during this time when there's no live sports. Hey, if you're a baseball fan, I think is it South Korea? ESPN just did a deal to broadcast Korean baseball, which is still pretty solid. I don't watch a bunch of it, but I know Korea and Japan are, or is it Japan? I know that they're big into baseball. So there's that. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. See you next week. Peace out.